Good afternoon. This series of videos is called Healthcare Advocacy, where we address problems in the healthcare system, take actions, and try to make the system better for all of us. I'm Alan Unell. Before we get started, I want to tell you down below in the description section, you'll find a link to the Healthcare Advocacy daily newsletter. You can, of course, subscribe and get it in your inbox, but it will have the text of today's video together with all the hyperlinks and references that I mention here, together with the actions that I recommend we take. Okay, this is about, the first thing I want to talk about is abortion in Texas, which is very restrictive with respect to abortion. So, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade and sent the decision on whether to make abortion legal or not back to the states, the Biden administration sent a letter to hospitals reminding them of their obligation to perform life-saving abortions under the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. That's federal legislation. Texas sued the federal government, arguing that this is an overstep that mandates abortions. Texas said it was tantamount to a nationwide mandate that every hospital and emergency room physician perform abortions. Several anti-abortion medical associations joined the lawsuit as well. In August of 2022, a federal district judge in Lubbock, Texas, agreed with the Texas suit, saying that this guidance amounted to a new interpretation of EMTALA and granted a temporary injunction that was later extended. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals heard arguments this past November in 2023, and the judges were prepared to uphold the injunction. Tuesday, the appeals court ruled, and the author was Judge Kurt Engelhardt, and he said the court declines to expand the scope of EMTLA. Quoting from his decision, "We agree with the district court that EMTALA does not provide an unqualified right for the pregnant mother to abort her child," Engelhardt wrote. EMTALA does not mandate medical treatments, let alone abortion care, nor does it preempt Texas law. Bottom line, if your pregnancy threatens your life in Texas and you wind up in the hospital emergency room, the doctor there has no obligation to perform the abortion you need to save your life. Welcome to states' rights. Okay, let's take an action on this one. The only way to fix this is to have Congress pass the Women's Health Protection Act. That would legalize the right to an abortion nationwide. So, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. On your cell phone, text SIGN, SIGN, PYBXLN to the number 50409, and here's the message that you'll be sending to your member of Congress and to your senators. I am your constituent, and I just learned that a federal appeals court in Texas ruled that the hospital emergency rooms there do not have to perform life-saving abortions. This is what happens when you let the individual states choose to let women die instead of providing life-saving abortions. I want you to do everything in your power to pass the Women's Health Protection Act as fast as possible. No more women dying unnecessarily. You have the power to save women's lives, and I want you to do it. No excuses, just do it. Okay, that's the action. I will point out, before I go too far, that if you go to that link to the newsletter, there's also 2 links for phone numbers for people in Congress and emails. So if you want to get in touch with them separately that way, feel free. Next topic, food as medicine, sort of. You need food to be healthy, but not according to the current Congress. Congress has not fully funded the government. In case you've forgotten, we're living in a world with continuing resolutions. The current one, for many things, expires on January 19th. There is a link, which is provided in the newsletter, to a U.S. Department of Agriculture report on the U.S. Supplemental Nutrition Programs for Women, Infants, and Children. Shorthand, it's called WIC, W-I-C, for Women, Infants, and Children. This program provides necessary food for pregnant women, infants, and children who cannot afford it. It's about 6.7 million people in the U.S., and this was a shocker to me, 40% of all the infants in the U.S. are beneficiaries of this program. That points to another set of problems, but we'll deal with that a different day. The continuing resolution that Congress did pass provides funding at last year's level. There's a problem. The problem is that there are more eligible people signing up for WIC than it was funded for last year. In dollars, there's about $1 billion shortfall. If the additional funding is not in place, January 19th, then the states may put new participants on a waiting list instead of making sure they do not go hungry. This is just chilling. Anyway, here's the breakout of who's on WIC. Infants, about 100, this is in any given month. Infants, about 170,000. Children, 370,000. Pregnant persons, 110,000. Breastfeeding mothers, 80,000. Postpartum mothers, 70,000. Grand total, it's about 810,000 people every month. The report that the U.S. Department of Agriculture produced, which there's the link in that newsletter, also has a state-by-state account of how many recipients there are in each state. So if you want to take a look at that before you call your member of Congress, you can give them hell for that. Anyway, I put together an action that we can all take quickly, and it's another ResistBot cell phone action. On your cell phone, you can just text SIGN, S-I-G-N, PWZ-HGO to 50409 to tell your member of Congress and senators to fund WIC at the requested increased level to protect these vulnerable Americans. Here's the email, I'll read it to you. I'm your constituent, and I just learned that Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children is $1 billion short. That program feeds 6.7 million of us. 40% of all infants benefit. If that extra funding is not available, states will be putting the hungry on waiting lists to get food. You can fix it. Make sure WIC gets the additional $1 billion needed before January 19th. Thank you. That's today's newsletter. Down below, you can like, share, and subscribe. You can also subscribe to the daily Healthcare Advocacy newsletter. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Have a good evening.